Welcome to another RCP tutorial. Today we are modeling this market stall, keeping on with the trend of the other tutorial. So let's get to it. For the base, Shift-A to add a cylinder with 7 sides. Go to the front view and S+Z to make it smaller. Tap to edit mode and select the top face. Press E+S and scale it out. Press E again to extrude it up. I'm adjusting the bottom part now and then add a bevel modifier and apply it. Shade the smooth and enable auto smooth. Now Shift-A to add a cube and go to the front view. SX and SY to make it into a bar shape, and SZ to make it longer. Tap to edit mode and Ctrl R to add some loops. Select the edges and use S to give it some form. Now add a subdivision modifier and use Ctrl R to add loops and keep the shape. Smooth and enable auto smooth. Now Shift D and X to duplicate on the X axis. Select the duplicate and tap to edit mode. Select some of the edges and use S to change the shape a little bit. Shift A to add a circle and make it smaller around the pole. Go to the object properties, geometry and increase the depth. Then right click and convert to mesh. And then add a subdivision modifier and Shift D Z to move it downward. Select both of them and Shift D plus X to move it toward the other pole. Shift A to add a cube, S+Z to make it shorter and SX to make it thinner. Go to the side view and use GY to move it towards the pole edge. I'm adjusting the size a little bit. And now we add a subdivision modifier, tap to edit mode and Ctrl R to add some vertical and horizontal loops to keep the shape. Shade the smooth and enable auto smooth. Now use RX to give it some incline and then Shift D plus X to move it to the other pole. Shift A to add a plane. Go to the top view and use GX to move it to the middle of the poles, and then SX to scale it so it covers both sides, SY to make it shorter, and then GY to move it until it covers the poles and bars. GZ to move it upwards so it aligns to the ropes. Select the plane, tap to edit mode and Ctrl R to add some horizontal loops. Enable proportional editing and select a middle face and then press GZ to curve it. Now RX to incline it and then use GZ to position it. Select the faces, press A and then E to extrude up. Select the front face and scale it down. Tap to object mode and SZ to make it thinner, and then RX to incline it again. Tap to edit mode again and Ctrl R to add more loops. Then select a face in the middle and with proportional editing enabled, press GZ to curve it. Select the front faces and extrude out, and then GZ to move them downwards. Add a subdivision modifier and use Ctrl R to add some supporting loops to maintain the shape. Make some adjustments to the position and incline. Shift A to add a cube and go to the front view. SZ to make it shorter and then SX to make it a box or a case shape. Go to the side view and GZ to position it on the bottom of the previous object. Now sidebar to exit isolation mode and position the market stall onto the base. Select the case object and sidebar to go into isolation view. Tap to edit mode and Ctrl R to add 4 loops on each side. Now select the top edges and X dissolve edges. Now select all the edges on the sides and Ctrl B to bevel them once. Select these faces and D to extrude them inward. Select the top face and X delete the face. Then add a solidify modifier and then add a subdivision modifier. Use Ctrl R to add loops that help maintain the shape of the case. Now Shift A to add a cube and position it inside the case. Scale it with SY, SX and SZ to cover the inside of the case. Then tap to Edit Mode and Ctrl R to add the loop here. Select the top part of the new edge and GZ to move up. Now sidebar to exit isolation view and Shift D to duplicate the case twice and use GY and GX to position the three cases in a row under the marked stall. Now we're gonna model the fruit. Shift A to add a sphere. Sidebar to go to isolation mode and S to scale it down. Tap to edit mode and enable X-ray and proportional editing. Select the top vertices and GZ to move them down. Tap to object mode and shade smooth. Now Shift A to add a cube and scale it down until it looks like a bar. Position it on top of the apple and add a subdivision modifier. Tap to edit mode and Ctrl R to add some loops to keep the shape. Apply the modifier, tap to edit mode and enable X-ray. Select some vertices in the middle and use GX with proportional editing enabled to curve the stem. Select the apple and tap to edit mode. Then select this edge and GZ, move it upwards and then scale it in a little bit. Add another subdivision modifier and apply it. Now Shift A to add a plane, go to top view and use GY to move it out of the middle. Tap to edit mode and Ctrl R to add some loops. Disable proportional editing and scale the vertices to achieve a rough leaf shape. Go to side view, press 3 to faces and A to select all, then E to extrude up. Now add a subdivision modifier and Ctrl R to add a horizontal loop and a vertical loop across the leaf. Select the top edges and GZ to move down. Shade the smooth and now position it on top of the apple. Here I enable X-ray and proportional editing, select some vertices in the middle and use GX to curve the leaf a bit. Now select the three objects and Ctrl J to join them. Sidebar to exit isolation mode and select the apple and the first case and sidebar again. Now position the apple and Shift D to duplicate until we fill the case. Now we are gonna model a mango. Shift A to add a sphere and shade smooth. scale it down and select the middle case and the sphere and sidebar to enter isolation mode. Go to the front view, enable X-ray and proportional editing, select some of the bottom vertices and use G-set to move them down and scale them in a little bit. Then select the top vertices and G-set to move upwards and S to scale them out. Now Shift A to add a cube and scale it down to make the stem part of the fruit. Tap to edit mode and Ctrl R to add a loop near the top. Select the edge and S to scale it out. Then apply a subdivision modifier and shade the smooth plus auto smooth. Now Shift A to add a plane, go to the top view and GY to move it out of the middle, SX to make it thinner and tap to edit mode. Ctrl R to add some loops and with proportional editing enabled, select the bottom vertices and scale them in. Then disable proportional editing and make some adjustments to the top vertices. Go to the side view, 3-4 faces and press A to select all of them, then E to extrude upwards. Add a subdivision modifier and Ctrl R to add a horizontal loop and a vertical loop in the middle. Scale the leaf on the Y-axis and select the top vertices and scale them in. Select the top edges and Ctrl V to bevel them once. Then select the new faces and extrude them inwards. Shade smooth and auto smooth. Now scale it down and position it on the stem of the fruit. With X-ray on, I select some vertices in the center and press G-set to curve the leaf. And then select one vertex on the side touching the fruit and go to Mesh, Snap, Cursor to Selected and then tap to Object Mode and go to Object, Set, Origin, Origin to 3D Cursor. This way it's easier to position and rotate the leaf. Once you have positioned the leaf how you would like it, select the 3 parts of the mango and Ctrl J to join them. I add a final subdivision modifier once they are joined. And now we duplicate with Shift D and position them inside the case. Now we're gonna model a banana. Shift A to add a cube and sidebar to isolation view. SZ to make it shorter, then SX to make it thinner. Now go to the side view, tap to edit mode and Ctrl R to add 4 loops. Press 1 for vertices and with proportional editing on, select the one in the middle and G-set to curve the shape. Then select one of the side vertices and scale them in. Do the same thing on the other extreme. Add a subdivision modifier and Ctrl R to add some loops to make a banana shape. Apply the modifier and tap to edit mode again. Select one vertex on the extreme and change the origin point there. Now Shift D to duplicate and R-set to rotate and create a handful of bananas. Now Shift A to add a cube, scale it down to make it smaller and cover the spot where the bananas are joined. Add a subdivision modifier and Ctrl R to add some loops and keep the shape. Shade smooth and then select all the objects and Ctrl J to join them together. Sidebar to exit isolation mode, select the bananas and the last case and sidebar to isolation view again. Now, position the bananas inside the case. Now we are gonna model the barrel. Shift-A to add a cylinder with 9 sides. Sidebar to go into isolation view and then go to the front view. Tap to enter edit mode and Ctrl-R to add 2 loops. Now select the top and bottom edges and press S to scale them in. Add another loop in the middle with Ctrl-R and selecting these edges, scale them in and try to achieve a barrel shape. Now Ctrl-R again to add 3 more edges, select these faces and ES to extrude them out. Then select the top face and press I to insert a face and then GZ to move it downwards. Now select these edges and Ctrl-B to bevel them once. And with the new faces selected, press ES to extrude them inward. Now tap to Object Mode and apply a subdivision modifier. Tap to Edit Mode and with Ctrl-R add some supporting loops to keep the shape. Once you are happy with the shape, apply the subdivision modifier, sidebar to exit isolation mode and position the barrel. I'm also making a duplicate with Shift-D and positioning it. Now for the basket, Shift-A to add a cylinder with 9 sides. Sidebar to go to isolation mode, go to the front view and use S to make it smaller. Ctrl-R to add 3 loops. Now select the bottom edge and scale it in. Add another loop with Ctrl-R and keep using S to scale the edges and achieve a rough basket shape. Add another loop closer to the top and select these faces, then press E plus S to scale them out. Select this edge and scale in a little bit. Then select the top face and press I to insert a face and use GZ to move it down. Add a subdivision modifier and make shape adjustments, then apply it. Now Shift-A to add a cube and make it a rectangle. Tap to Edit Mode and Ctrl-R to add 2 loops. Now select these edges on the extremes and scale them down, then apply a subdivision modifier. Now I'm adding 2 more loops, one horizontally and one vertically, and shaping this object into a potato. Then I apply the modifier, go to X-ray view, vertices, and with proportional editing enabled, I make some adjustments to the shape so it is more interesting than a perfect oval shape. After that, I'm positioning the potato and making duplicates until the basket looks filled. iBox select all the objects and position them on the base. For the rock, Shift-A to add a cube, sidebar to go to isolation view and go to the front view. Add one level of subdivision modifier and shape the rock. To bevel the vertices, I use Shift-Ctrl-B.
Once you are happy with the shape, add another subdivision modifier and apply it. Then shade the smooth and enable auto smooth. Exit isolation mode and position it on the base. Then shift D to make duplicates and change the shape to make different rocks and scatter them around. Lastly, we add the materials and the lights. And here is the finished model. I hope you like the model and that you have found this video useful. If so, please leave a like, comment or subscribe because it helps a lot. Thank you, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!